thought I'd let you listen to the entire song for a change instead of just a few seconds of it. So, how's everyone doing? It's me, Ideas of Ice and Fire. Time to start this live stream. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard by now. George R. Martin said a while ago that they were working on scripts for 5 different shows, but at the time, a lot of people thought it was unclear whether or not they were actually doing 5 shows. And it turns out that George R. R. Martin has pretty much confirmed that yes, he is. They have planned on 5 shows, and 2 of them might even be airing at the same time. So let's go to Not a Blog and check out what he has to say. All right. So it says, and by the way, hello everyone. Let me give my introduction before we get right into this. So, I'm Ideas of Ice and Fire, obviously. Check out my Patreon. And if you liked that video of me going through the leaks for Season 8, Episode 1, which I'm pretty sure are fake, so that's why I'm not going to cover the Episode 2 leaks on my channel. I'm just going to put them on the Patreon. So if you want to see that, me going through the episode leaks, they're really fake, though. So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I'm putting that on my Patreon. And I've got some older stuff that I'm uploading to Patreon that used to be on my channel that's not anymore. Some stuff that I took down. So some of that's going on to Patreon. I'm re-uploading, the famous R plus L equals J thing that I did like a year and a half ago. That's going to be on Patreon because that's removed from my channel now. So if you've never seen that or you just want to see it again, that's going to be up on Patreon. So check me out there. Now that I've done that, and then there were 5. So this is George R. Martin's Not a Blog. And he says, Game of Thrones, successor show, that is. Truth be told, successor shows, that is. Truth be told, we've had 5 scripts in various stages of development for months, which I believe I mentioned. But at last, all the deals are signed, and it can be told. Bryan Krogman has come on board to pen the 5th of the successor shows. James Hibbard broke the news on Entertainment Weekly. Okay, whatever. But yeah, so Bryan Krogman, he's been a writer on Game of Thrones since the very beginning. And if you're not familiar with some of Bryan Krogman's episodes, I've got his IMDb pulled up right here. And yeah, it's the list of all the episodes that he's written for Game of Thrones, right? So he's done Crippled, Bastards, and Broken Things from Season 1. What is Dead May Never Die from Season 2. Kissed by Fire from Season 3. Oathkeeper from Season 4. The Laws of Gods and Men from also Season 4. Kill the Boy from Season 5. Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken from Season 5. Blood of My Blood from Season 6. Broken Man from Season 6. And Stormborn from Season 7. Which, we'll go through some of them. Now, Stormborn. That was the 2nd episode of Season 7. And it says here, Daenerys received an unexpected visitor, and it was Melisandre, you remember that. Jon Snow faces resistance. Tyrion plans the conquest of Westeros. Cersei gathers her allies. Arya is in reunion with old friends. That was when she met Nymeria. Sam risks his life and career. So this is the episode where Sam cures Jorah in a night. So, already, not a fan, Brian. Let's see what else you got. Unbowed, Unbit, Unbroken. This is the episode where Sansa gets raped. So, and I was looking at this earlier, and I actually looked. It's Cogman. Oh, I don't know. For some reason I read Krogman. I don't. Cogman. I meant no disrespect, but yeah, for Sam marries. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I was looking at this earlier, and I looked at the Wikipedia. Turns out this is actually the lowest rating. This is the lowest rated episode of Game of Thrones ever on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's an episode that Bryan Cogman wrote. So. Yeah, take that how you want it. That's very interesting. So it looks like so far we got a mediocre episode and a really bad episode. So let's keep going. So Stormborn, Unbowed, Unbitten, Unbroken. Oathkeeper. Jaime entrusts a task to Brienne. I think this is the episode where he gives her the sword and he says, "Go find Catelyn Stark's daughters." Daenerys frees Meereen, which was it was anticlimactic at best. Jon is given permission to lead a group of Night's Watchmen to Craster's Keep. Bran and company are taken hostage. Again, I this is not an episode that's really memorable or enjoyable, so it's kind of a mediocre episode. Again, kill the boy. This is the episode where Maester Aemon dies, and if I remember correctly, I enjoyed some of the dialogue in this episode. Like, because I remember really feeling it when Maester Aemon died. I felt like that was actually handled well. Daenerys arrests the heads of Meereen, great families. Yeah, I remember that scene. That was actually a pretty good scene. Jon makes a difficult decision. Don't remember what that was. Theon is forced to face Sansa. Stannis rides south. Tyrion and Jorah enter the ruins of Valyria. Okay, yeah, this is not a very good episode. I remember this episode now. Yeah, I remember I was not digging the idea that they would be sailing through Valyria. That was not something that I was just okay with because it's like kind of a big deal that no one can go to Valyria. Like even like you sail to Valyria and you never return. So that's kind of like why it's crazy in the book that Euron came back from Valyria. So I didn't like the fact that Tyrion and Jorah just sailed through it, and I wonder if that was his idea because if that was actually Cogman's idea, then I'm kind of like, well, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So those are some of the episodes that he's done. Let's get back to what George R. R. Martin wrote on his Not a Blog. So he says, Bryan Cogman should need. I guess I'm so used to looking at Krogman, so I looked at that and I put an R in it for some reason. Bryan Cogman should need no introduction from any Game of Thrones fan. He's been part of the show since the beginning, since before the beginning actually, since he was first hired as an assistant to D&D way before the series got on air, before even the pilot had been filmed. From those humble beginnings, he advanced to staff writer, to story editor, to co-producer and supervising producer. Less formally, he has also been Game of Thrones' keeper of lore. Well, that's interesting considering that, Valyria thing. They do, I will admit, like, one thing that they've been doing is, like, they do kind of, like, put in, like, little bits of lore where they can. They kind of throw it in where they can. But, the Valyria thing is kind of like, you kind of just threw all that out the window. And then the Dragon Glass thing, what were you doing there? And, I don't know, it's a little weird. I don't know if he's been doing necessarily a great job as keeper of lore. The guy who knew the canon better than anyone, except me, though sometimes I am not even sure of that. Well, that's interesting. So, like, I don't know, man, because it's kind of like you're the blame for some of the things that kind of went wrong with Game of Thrones. If you're supposed to be the keeper of lore, and then the lore hasn't really been, the continuity, keeping up with the lore from the books has not really been that fantastic in my opinion. But it's been good sometimes. But there's been some serious blunders in my humble opinion. If D&D have been the kings of Westeros for the past 7 seasons, Bryan Cogman has surely been the Prince of Dragonstone. Okay, and this is a photograph of Bryan in front of a map of Westeros and Essos. I'd love to tell you more about the series Bryan will be working on, but we haven't done that for the other successor shows, so we're not doing this for this one either, all in good time. So yeah, this is the thing, guys. It's going to be 5 shows. Like, it's like HBO is pretty much going to be like the Game of Thrones network. I was talking to a friend of mine last night about this who like loves Star Trek, and like Next Generation was just so freaking popular that they just made all these Star Trek shows, and you had Deep Space Nine and Voyager running at the same time. And Voyager was like freaking terrible in my opinion. I think Deep Space Nine actually had some really good writing, like towards the end. Like 4 seasons in, Deep Space Nine had really good writing. But Voyager was like, ugh, does not even try it. And then Enterprise came after that, and it was just not, because like one show was like super popular, and they were like, we gotta milk this, and they made all these shows, and then it just kind of like fizzled out. And then now we got Star Trek Discovery coming back like freaking 12 years later or something, and it's nuts. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want this to kind of like, if it fizzles out, then oh, we'll see though, because 5, I said in the first video that I did on this that 5 seems like really ambitious. That seems like a lot, and I don't know if like, I don't want them to get ahead of themselves and trip over. Okay. And yeah, and he says he's not announcing what the shows are going to be about, but he has said that there's not Dunkin' Egg. Dunkin' Egg is not happening, at least not yet. It's not happening. It's not one of the 5. And then also Robert's Rebellion is not happening. Robert's Rebellion is not happening at all. So we're not getting around, and I know people wanted Robert's Rebellion, but I don't want Robert's Rebellion. Like I know everything that happened in Robert's Rebellion. I don't need a show. I would rather see like the rule of Ares and his downfall than Robert's Rebellion. But what I would really like to see, um, and I'll show you. I'll pull up some images. I would love to see. Can't believe I spelled that wrong. I would love to see. Go. Yeti, the kingdom of Yeti. I read all about it in the world of Ice and Fire, and it's just very very interesting. It was this great, fantasy Asian kingdom. It was like kind of like ancient China, but it's like China like five ancient China times like 10. It was like the greatest empire that this world had ever seen, and it kind of fell into chaos and ruin, and people stopped trusting each other, and the kingdom split up, and it was like it just went into this massive downfall, and now ET is like a great ruin. I would love to see something on the fulcrum of that, where we see where the downfall begins, and we see like what really kicked it off, and some of the mystery about ET could be explored and unveiled. I would love to. Uh, I would love to see that show. ET. Let's get back on what George is doing, of what he's saying. I can say that, like the other pilots, it will be a prequel rather than a sequel. So this is before, so at least we know that. A successor rather than a spin-off. Bryan's series will be an adaptation, and one that will thrill most fans of the books. So that's good. I think see. I'm glad that George is at least thinking about us book people. He's saying that it's going to thrill us. So I don't think he'd say that if it wasn't. So yeah, I think at least George R. Martin is thinking about us book people. Okay, I think set during a very exciting period of Westeros history. So we know that at least the first show that's coming out, well, the one that Bryan is working on, is going to be in Westeros. So I'm thinking Age of Heroes. I'm thinking something going on during the Age of Heroes. So he's saying that it's a very exciting period of Westeros. What's more exciting than the Age of Heroes? Like all types of crazy stuff was going on. So, and it says, I'll be working with him every step of the way. We're going to be co-creating the show. Oh my God. So like wow. That's because this is like I haven't read the entire article yet, so this is my first time seeing it. Working on them every step of the way. They're co-creating the show. That just injected a bunch of hope into my heart, and D&D have nothing to do with this. It's Bryan and it's George, and they're making this show. And and I get the criticisms. Winds of Winter's not out yet, and he's working on these other shows. But I mean, I'm hoping that Winds of Winter will come out when he thinks it's ready. And I don't want him to spread himself too thin. I get where that part of the argument comes from, because I really don't want him to. And I don't want him to stress himself out trying to work on this show and trying to complete the Winds of Winter. I think that what he really should do right now is focus all of his efforts in getting the Winds of Winter out, and then he can work on this show. Like, I don't know how many episodes they're going to be doing a year either. Is this going to be another 10 episodes a year thing, or is it going to be a shorter type of deal? So what's going to be going on? And is it going to be on the same grand scale of Game of Thrones? I don't know. Meanwhile, Jane Goldman, Brian Helg, I'm going to butcher these names, Helgland, Max Borstein, Carly Ray, are all at work on the 4 other shows. So those are the 4 other writers. Well, not 4, that's 1, 2, yeah, 4 other writers that's working on the other 4 shows. So it's got 4 other people working on the other scripts, which is interesting. And he's been working with them as well, some more closely than others. Interesting. So some of them he's been working closely with, some of them he has not. And Bryan is the only one that it's like, yes, 100%, this is happening. All the paperwork is signed. They're definitely doing this. So Bryan is the only one that's definitely happening. Okay. HBO should have a wealth of material to choose from, and that's not even counting the 4 weird-ass series concepts that I have come up with on my own. So he has like 4 crazy concepts that he's come up with on his own. Just for the hell of it. It says here, just for the hell of it. Wow, that's incredible. There are 8 million stories in the Naked City. And maybe 10 times as many in Westeros and the lands of the Narrow Sea. The Naked City. What's the Naked City? There are 8 million stories in the. Is that some turn of phrase that I'm just not familiar with? There are 8 million stories in the Naked City and maybe 10 times as many in Westeros and lands beyond the narrow seas. Maybe Naked City is just something that goes over my head. I don't know what that means. You should not expect to see all 5 shows. Okay, so he says we should not be expecting to see all 5. At least not immediately. Ah, see. At least not immediately. So there definitely could be those 5 shows. Just not immediately. Because I know I read that, 2 of them will probably be airing, maybe on the same time or something like that. As much as I might love the idea HBO is not about to become the Game of Thrones network, but we could possibly see 2 or even 3 make it to the pilot stage, with one series emerging air on in 2019 or 2020, and the others maybe later if they come out as well as we all hope. Then again, maybe I should not speculate. You folks get way too excited. Truth is, no one knows, least of all me. For now, suffice to say that Bryan Cogman has signed on, and we're thrilled. So that's what George R. R. Martin wrote. So they're working on 5. If we're optimistic, we can expect 3 maybe to come out and beyond. And some of these shows are definitely going to be airing at the same time. They're not going to wait. So it's probably going to be a Star Trek situation where you got multiple shows on the air at the same time, which could be interesting because I think with HBO, they probably do it like half a year. They play one show and then the other half they play the other show. So, and he's saying that it could be as early as 2019. So that's like right after Game of Thrones. There's like no break. It's like Game of Thrones and right on to the next thing. So that's very, very interesting. Like I said, I would love Yee. I'm going to look at the comments now. What are some of the ideas of, that you think that they should work on or possibly bring to the small screen? Well, I guess nowadays small screens are pretty big depending on the size of your television. So, yeah, like I said, I love the idea of Yee. I feel like there's so much to be explored. I just feel like it would be beautiful. Like I look at paintings online of Yee and I just see how beautiful they are, and I would love to see this, on screen. And if you're not familiar with Yee, I've done several videos on Yee. I like how when I Google, my video actually comes up. So this is the actual first video that I did on Yee where I'm talking about, Yee and the Bloodstone Emperor, and then the other video that I did was about the 5 forts of Yee, which is also really interesting. So if you have not seen those 2, definitely check them out. Yee's amazing, and I just think it would be fantastic if they did it. Okay. Bob Hurst says, if done right, it would be cool to have multiple series that were different but still tied together in some way beyond just existing in the same world. Ah, so that's interesting. So if it was like each episode it was like, wait, let's see. That were different but still tied together in some way just beyond existing in the same world. So it was like, so each series, so it would be kind of like how, Marvel's doing the movies. How they've got each movie and then, everyone's going to team up, in Infinity War. So that's interesting. I mean, I feel like that'd be interesting. If they're going to have them on at the same time, they might as well do something to tie them all together, I think. Okay. George R. Martin doesn't believe in epic heroes versus evil stories. And this is why he can't make himself write the ending of Game of Thrones. I think George R. Martin is working on it. See, what I think is going on with George R. Martin and him doing this, for him taking his time with the Winds of Winter. I think Winds of Winter is all the major shit. It's all coming to a head, and this is like all the really fucking climactic shit. And then A Dream of Spring will be kind of more of the resolution. So I'm gonna make a prediction here right now. I think that A Dream of Spring will actually come out much quicker than Winds of Winter. I don't think it'll take nearly as long to write A Dream of Spring as it has for the Winds of Winter. That's just my humble opinion. Okay. Oh, so some people are saying the Roynish people. That would be very, very interesting. Because like you read the books and you see all this, you feel the deep, rich lore on the Rhone and that river, and it's got like so much going on. And it's just all crazy and interesting, and you just want to hear more. So I agree. I would definitely love to see like maybe a Roynish thing over in Essos, because I generally tend to think that the cultures in Essos are kind of more interesting than the cultures in, like, Westeros is kind of like the medieval thing, and that's what you get. Except for the Dornish people. The Dornish people are a little different, but for the most part, it's kind of like, medieval Europe. But then you've got, the East, and you've got all these crazy exotic cultures, and I'd really like some of that. I'd love that. Hmm. Let's see. And a lot of people saying the Age of Heroes, which I do agree. The Age of Heroes would be interesting to see because like there's a lot that you could do with the Age of Heroes. Some people are saying anthology. Yeah, definitely an anthology thing would work as well, where it's like different every week. It's a different part. It's a different storyline. I think would be interesting. Or yeah, I know George R. R. Martin wrote that kind. He did that kind of writing, kind of on the Twilight Zone, where it was like anthology. But I don't expect. I don't want any like crazy Twilight Zone endings with Game of Thrones. Let's not do that. Valyria, but the beginning, maybe how they bred wyverns and fireworms, and how they made dragons. Interesting. I don't think the Valyrians made dragons, but I don't. But who knows actually? But yeah, I think something with Valyria in the beginning would be interesting before the Doom, and you could see like the way the magic worked, and you could maybe see like the forging of the Valyrian steel, and you'd have an opportunity like to showcase like the horrors of slavery because that's the thing about the Valyrians. They were horrible, horrible, horrible to their slaves. A slave in the Valyrian mines was like the worst thing ever. And like I think there's a really interesting piece of art that demonstrates this. Let's see if I can find it. And it shows it's from the World of Ice and Fire, and it shows you the slaves, and they're all walking in a row. Oh, it's really beautiful. It's in the World of Ice and Fire. Ah, here it is. This is it. There's got to be a larger image than this. Let me see if I can find a larger version of this picture. But yeah, this is the image, and yeah, the Valyrians were horrible to their slaves, absolutely horrible. And some people said when the Doom actually happened that kind of this is what they get. This is what they get for treating these people like that, because it's you're in those mines and it's like hot. People just died of exhaustion. They worked you literally until you died, and it's just like really messed up. Which is why it's kind of ironic that you have Daenerys, who is descended from the Valyrians, being the one that's going around, freeing all the slaves. It's a really interesting bit of irony, I think, that it was her people, the Dragon Lords that did all this horrible, horrible, brutal slavery stuff. So I would love to see some of that in a show. I think you have an opportunity to really, tell an interesting story here. Because what would it have been like, to live in one of those mines? Um, and perhaps maybe it could even end with the Doom of Valyria. Who knows? Because that'd be an interesting thing to see on screen. I think, wouldn't it? Like the Doom of Valyria, like to see the volcano explode and the freaking earth break open, like it says in the World of Ice and Fire. Like the earth broke open and the ocean literally just rushed in, and then like islands that weren't even on Valyria, like they got like these huge like tsunamis that just like destroyed like entire islands, and it's just like nuts. That'd be really cool to see on the screen, I think. So yeah, I'd like Valyria as well. Yeah, the Rhoynish Wars would be interesting because you get like subtle hints of that, and you see some of it in the World of Ice and Fire as well. Okay. Yeah, the Giscari were also horrible, but the Valyrians were equally horrible, if not worse. And the Valyrians had magic, and they were not friendly people. They just weren't. At the end of Game of Thrones, the survivors will step out of the holodeck. A friend of mine keeps saying that it's going to end with George R. R. Martin waking up and going, "Oh, that was a terrible nightmare," and I'd probably shoot myself. Keep in mind how CGI heavy Valyria would be. It would, yeah. It wouldn't be something easy to make because there'd be tons of dragons, first of all, and then that Valyria, death thing, the Doom of Valyria would not be an easy thing to do. But with something like this, I bet they would probably do. They could. I think they would. They could get away with scaling back the visuals a little bit, make the dragons a little bit less detailed. They don't have to be, as amazing looking as Drogon. Just scale them back a little bit, make them a little bit less detailed. I could do with Harry Potter quality dragons. Harry Potter, the last movies, those dragons look pretty good. Like as long as they look decent, they don't have to be like, oh my god, you look in Drogon's mouth and it looks freaking like real flesh. They don't have to be that detailed. Scale that back a little bit, and do less episodes. They could get away with probably like 7 episodes, 6 episodes, or something. They could probably get away with doing that a year, and then they could pull it off. I think Because how much? You don't want to stretch it out for longer. See, that would be a problem, I think, with the Valyria especially. Like trying to stretch this out for as long as possible would not. I don't think it would benefit it. Um, but yeah, so the Peter Dinklage show. Well, that would be, if we would do Tyrion. Well, you just if it's just Peter Dinklage, then yeah, I guess. But if it was Tyrion, that would be a sequel, and he has said that these are prequels. Well, at least the Cogman one is a prequel, not a sequel. A sequel would be interesting though, but I'd want a sequel. I'd want a sequel like 500 years in the future or something. Like I'd want, or like 1,000 years in the future. I would want a future where by this point in time, the events of A Song of Ice and Fire have become legend. I feel like that'd be really, really interesting. Um, yeah. So if they did one in the future, I'd want like the story of Daenerys to be like a fleeting legend. Like no one really knows what really happened with Daenerys Targaryen. And I feel like that'd be interesting. Braun origins. Uh, no. Let's not do Braun origins. I don't need Braun origins. I don't want Braun origins. I don't care. Like holy crap. So I've got a few Patreon questions to get to. Um, and yeah, patrons of all tiers can ask me questions. And like I said, I've got content on Patreon that's exclusive, and I'm uploading some older videos back to Patreon, including the R plus L equals J video that I did like a year ago. That's no longer my channel, and that's going up on Patreon. And I'm also going to talk about the really fake leaks for season 8. I mean, they could be real, but I'm pretty sure they're fake, and I'm going to talk about them on Patreon. I'm not putting them on the main channel. So those are two videos that are going to be up pretty soon. So Philip of House Harris asked on Patreon, when or whose POV will we finally see Varys through? What cool info will Sam find out in Old Town other than what we've seen on the show? Will the Sand Snakes get to raise hell in King's Landing? Well, I think that we'll probably get an Illyrio Mopapaz POV scene. I think that's going to happen because I think that Illyrio Mopapaz could very well be Fagon's father. I think that is a very real possibility, and I think he set all this up because he wants to see his son, who is a Blackfire Targaryen, because he talks about the woman that he loved with silver hair. I think that she was a Blackfire, and Fagon is a Blackfire, and it's Illyrio's son, so I think we'll see Varys through the eyes of Illyrio. So what cool info will Sound found in Old Town, other than what we've seen in the show? I think he will discover more about the nature of the others and the real reason that they're waking and why they're coming. I don't think it'll be just, oh, dragon glass is at Dragonstone. I don't, but maybe it'll be something like that, because I do see the problem of dragon glass, but I think it'll be a little bit different. But I think that it will be something about the real nature of the others. Something that is a major hint at the real reason that they're attacking us, and the real reason that they're waking and marching on the realms of men. So that's what I think. When will the Sand Snakes get to raise hell in King's Landing? I think that'll be the plot of the Winds of Winter. I think that'll be a plot in the Winds of Winter, because they're there, and they're gonna be weaving their way, and they're gonna be playing the Game of Thrones. So we'll get to see what the Sand Snakes are really about in the Winds of Winter. So yeah. And Eleni Palmas says, when will your Dune series start? You got me reading the books, now I need your incisive analysis. I'm planning on having the first video in the Dune series out next Friday. I'm shooting for, and it will be an introduction into Dune, and I'll cover, like, so if you've never read Dune before, you'll know Dune after this video. And then after that, it's gonna be book by book. We're gonna do Dune. We're gonna do Dune Messiah. We're gonna do Children of Dune, God Emperor, Heretics, and then Chapter House. So yeah. And keep in mind, guys, going back to the Sand Snakes for a little bit, the Sand Snakes in the book are quite different from the Sand Snakes in this show. So the Sand Snakes, book Sand Snakes, fucking awesome. Show Sand Snakes, they suck. They're not good, and I'm glad they're dead. Do you think the origin of the Oily Blackstone will get addressed in the story? I don't. Actually, well, at least not fully. Since this is kind of a Lovecraftian idea, you see, the whole thing about Lovecraft is you never get the full story. In fact, George R. R. Martin has actually come out and said before that he is not a fan of the writers that continued Lovecraft's work because they revealed too much about, what was going on. Because with Lovecraft, you get subtle hints. You just get a peek into, this forbidden horrible dark world. You never see it fully. No one ever glimpses it fully. And the people that do kind of even glimpse like a piece of it go mad because they can't handle the magnitude of it. So I don't think we'll ever get like a solid explanation like this is definitely that. So I hope that answers your question. And that was the last of the Patreon questions. We only had a few this time. And let's just get back to the chat and see what you guys are saying in the chat. Modern day Westeros. You mean Westeros in 2017? Ugh. And they're all on their cell phones. Hashtag blood of my blood. Hashtag Stormborn. I could just imagine Daenerys tweeting. Hashtag Daenerys Stormborn. Hashtag Mother of Dragons. Hashtag. She's got a million hashtags. Yeah. Upon rereading A Feast for Crows, I find both the Sand Snakes cheesy and one-dimensional. Oh, interesting. Well, I don't. I think the Sand Snakes are much better in the books. I do. I think they're much... they haven't been fully explored yet in the books either. Like, the one Dornish girl that you do see is Ariane, and she's the only one that's, like, fully developed. The Sand Snakes in the book, at least in Feast, spend most of their time locked in a tower. So, like Doran finds out that they're going to try some shit and locks them in a tower. See, that's what competent Doran looks like. He's like, oh shit, these bitches are going to try something. He's like, yeah, you're locked in a tower and yeah, you're just there. And also there's not just the three. He has other daughters. Oberyn actually had tons of daughters. So yeah, it's not just the three. And I do agree. I agree with you, Edmund, that A Feast for Crows is very underrated. I think it has some of the best chapters that George R. Martin has ever written. Does George R. Martin have a thing for incest? I don't know, man, because if you read his original outline, there was totally gonna be a Jon Snow and Arya incest thing going on. So, aren't you glad he decided not to do that? Yeah, I sure am. Yeah, Cirilla Sand also is a very interesting character that's not in the show. She's actually at the Citadel, and she's like pretending to be a boy and stuff like that. It's very interesting. So we will get to know more about her in the Winds of Winter. So yeah, that's just another awesome character that's just not left. And see, that's why I just get so frustrated when people say to me that it's George R. R. Martin's fault because he didn't give them the source material. That's what really just bugs the hell out of me because I'm like, he gave you so much freaking source material. And like the only excuse that people have is like, oh, Feast and Dance are not really that great, which I don't agree with at all. George gave you freaking source material. He did. You had so much and you just chose not to do it. I'm not gonna harp on it. Thank you so much, Nate Hartswick, for your super chat. And you said Quinn would love a show about Braun or a show about the show Sand Snakes. Why? Why are you even hurting me like this? No. Like, can we just not even put that energy into the universe? Let's just not even, like, acknowledge that that is even a possibility. Because, like, I'd literally die. Obviously not literally. I might literally die. I might just keel over. We announced the show is about, the origin of the fucking Sand Snakes. Or, like, or it's like, oh, time to tell Braun's fucking origin story. The Sellsword Chronicles. Oh my god, I would hate it. I know people love Braun, but I'm just like, no. Enough is enough. Like, God, I'm so sick of it. Braun was cool for like the first few seasons, but holy shit, enough is enough. And this season, it's just like he's fucking invincible. And then he's like, oh, I shoot Drogon, and there's like also bullshit. I call fucking bullshit on Braun surviving that her attacking the thing by just jumping off. Like Drogon can turn his fucking head. Like we've seen him do it. So like I don't like the Braun surviving is just no. And then I love how at the end he's saving like, and I didn't even mention this in my review. I didn't realize this till later. He saves Jaime during the midst of a battle and then he pulls him out and like everyone's gone. Like he pulls him out of the water and everyone's gone. Literally, everyone's fucking gone. So how long were you under the water? Like, that didn't make any fucking sense. And I was just like, what? What? And you trying to tell me this show hasn't gone down? And then he's like, okay, I'm out of here. No more dragons. I'm out of here. And then he's back. He's back. And a few episodes later, he's back in King's Landing, and Daenerys is around with dragons. And I'm just like, I thought you just fucking said that you were gone because the dragons. You just said that a few episodes ago, and I'm just like, no, I can't take this character anymore. I'm sorry. And I've been kind of off the band. I've been kind of off the Braun train for a while now, and I know people just love Braun, but me, I'm just like, no, no thanks, no thanks. All right, okay, and that was my Braun rant. That was my Braun rant. Braun will sit upon the Iron Throne. Let's not. Let's not. So I hate the Ironborn, says Edmund Daint. See, I really like the Ironborn in the books, and in the show I like Theon. I like Theon, but in the books I just think the Ironborn are super interesting. Euron is super interesting, and then you got Damp Hair, who's not in the show. Well, he kind of is. They do have a drowned priest who like is maybe Damp Hair, but like he's not. It's not even kind of the same character. So just not we don't even have to mention him. But yeah, Damp Hair in the books is freaking fantastic. And then Asha Greyjoy is way better than Yara. Like Asha in the book is like, oh, she's so good. She's like a hot pirate and she's a total badass. And then Theon as Reek is just like really tortured and horrible. Like he's just like, oh, you can just really see like just the fall of Theon. It's like it's amazing in the book. And then also Victorian has a fucking really interesting storyline in the book. I mean, the Greyjoys are awesome in the book. I really dig the Greyjoys. And so like I would be interested. I might even like seeing some history of the Greyjoys. Like I'd like to see what it was like when We Do Not So really meant something. Like a cool pirate show. Like I dig, like an Ironborn pirate Game of Thrones show. Like okay, I'm kind of a sucker for Pirates of the Caribbean. Like the last few movies sucked ass, but I still go to see them just for the nostalgia. Like I liked maybe like the first two of them, but like I really like pirates is what I'm trying to say, and I'd really like to see some cool pirate stuff, and really like show that they're pirates. Because like in the book, like you get it, they're pirates. In the show, they just kind of like they've got ships, and then other than that, there's nothing really pirate like about them. Like, but in the show, I mean, the book, it's like Euron even has an eye patch, and then he's got all these. He's got like the ship of freaks. He's like, and then like you even see him in the book in a vision on the Iron Throne as like a kraken, and it kind of gave me like Davy Jones, you know, reminded me of Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like how he's got the octopus face and he's got all the freaks on a ship. Yeah, I'd love that. It'd be very interesting. Oh, and mermaids. Oh yeah, like the Ironborn thing would be such a great opportunity to introduce merlings and the deep ones, and oh my god, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to see a mermaid. I'd love to see a freaking mermaid, cause like okay, look, I'm a Disney fan. Little Mermaid, Ariel, super into it. I'm sorry, I like Disney. I liked Ariel when I was a kid, and yeah, I'd be really cool, be really cool. And then maybe we could like touch on the Lovecraft stuff. We could touch on the Lovecraft stuff, and it would be, I'd be into it. I'd be into it. I'd be super into it. Have you watched the show Black Sails? It's pretty good if you like pirates. I have not seen it. I have heard good things, but I have not seen it. Taking a sip of water. Recently though, I've been watching Penny Dreadful, and that show is absolutely fantastic. And there's only 3 seasons, and I've pre-ordered the comics. There's a comic. The first volume is coming out in full volume. It's like 100 pages to the continuation of the story. So after it ends, I'll have that to read. Because it just ended for some reason. It's so fantastic, and I've been really interested into that and watching that. If you like horror, definitely give it a try. In light of the Forsaken chapter, do you think the Winds of Winter might be too exaggeratedly dark? That was kind of my problem with A Dance with Dragons towards the end. Towards the end. Okay. I don't think so. I think it'll be dark where it needs to be. Like the Forsaken is it's a really dark chapter, and then you have Mercy, which is also a really dark chapter. I mean, well, that's kind of a thing. It is gonna get darker, and it has gotten darker and darker. But that's kind of the point. Winter is here, and the darkness is coming, so things are gonna get the shit's really hitting the fan. And I think a lot of storylines in the Winds of Winter will be resolved, and then A Dream of Spring will focus more on the main conflict. A Dream of Spring will be the main. This is it. This is when humanity has to face winter, and I think that's what A Dream of Spring will be. And I think that title can be taken in multiple ways. Like a dream of spring, it's like, winter they could just be in the dead of winter, and spring is only a dream. Or and I think that also on the other side of dream spring, it means that there's kind of an optimistic outlook, on this. Like that it's a dream. Like the spring is a dream that they're dreaming, and it's the goal that they're working towards. I think. So yeah, that's the way I see it. Have you seen The Handmaid's Tale? Best of the year, in my opinion. Oh my god, I'm so glad you asked about The Handmaid's Tale. Elizabeth Moss, fantastic. Holy shit. If you have not seen The Handmaid's Tale, don't let anybody saying that it's like a feminist show turn you off. If you let that turn you away from the show, you're an idiot. Because like I hate it when people try to infect this with like modern politics. It is such a well-written show. And like Elizabeth Moss is fantastic. The actress that plays the wife is fantastic. The actress that plays the husband is fantastic. The Plusay from Orange Is the New Black is okay. The guy that drives the car is okay. But the main three people in the show are just like, oh my fucking god, it's good. It's so good. Yeah, so definitely watch The Handmaid's Tale. It's like a sci-fi dystopian future. Like, there's a plague. People can't have babies. Crazy religious cult takes over the country. They take fertile women and they enslave them and they make them, have babies for rich couples. And it's The Handmaid's Tale, and it's very fucking good. It is very fucking good. Much better than Game of Thrones. Much better writing than If you want a show with good writing, give The Handmaid's Tale a try. And Elizabeth Moss was also in another one of my super favorite shows, which is Mad Men. So yeah. So give that a try. Quinn, do you watch AHS? Nope. I have not watched American Horror Story since Freak Show, and I don't regret it. I watched the first episode of Hotel, was not into it. I watched the first episode of the other one that was out, was not into it. Freak Show just really fell flat for me. They just couldn't top Coven. I felt like Coven was like the best. Coven was like the best show, and then after Coven, it was just like, no, no thanks, no thanks. But yeah, George R. R. Martin. A lot of people would say, why are you working on these other shows when The Winds of Winter um, is not out yet? And so that's the thing. Um, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I feel like it's a little far to just be like, oh, I'm working on five other shows when you do have this, major book. That's like probably at this point, The Winds of Winter is the most anticipated novel in the entire world right now. It's the most anticipated novel in the world. So yeah, I do think it's kind of just like, what are you doing when you should be kind of trying to focus on this? But I'm not gonna judge George R. R. Martin. I'm sure he knows what's best for himself and his own sanity. Like, see, that's the thing. If he's writing the Winds and he's just not feeling it and he's in a rough place and he just feels like he needs to stop and do something else, I feel like it's his right to do that and do that so he doesn't go crazy. So while at the same time I agree that George R. R. Martin is kind of like a little crazy that he's doing these five shows, I think that he should do whatever is best for him. Yeah. And okay, everyone, I'm hearing you loud and clear, chat, about Black Sails. I'll definitely give Black Sails a try because I am a pirate fan, and all I've had for a while has been those shitty freaking Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and then I kind of had hope for Game of Thrones' version of pirates with the Greyjoys, and then that we obviously know how that turned out. So yeah, what about the slimed black rocks in the Five Forts? Please explain this. It is a Lovecraftian reference, Blackstone, and it seems to have something to do with the Deep Ones in Lovecraft because they the city Relay is kind of made of a similar black stone, a similar otherworldly stone. And the Deep Ones worship Cthulhu in further Lovecraftian mythology, and they also worship other gods, but they worship Cthulhu as well. And the black stone is just a thing that comes up over and over again, and presumably, since we have the Sea Stone chair and we've got a direct reference to the Deep Ones in canon, it leads me to believe that the Deep Ones have something to do with the presence of this black stone in this universe. And then also we've got Toad Isle, and we've got another reference to the black stone, so that's interesting. And then we've got also the mazes of Lorath, which is not exactly clear whether they're made of the same black stone, but it does say that seafaring people built these. built these mazes and then retreated back into the sea. So that's another interesting bit. So I think it's heavily hinted that the deep ones are involved, and I think that a Greyjoy spinoff would be a good way to kind of explore that, and that's something that I would definitely be excited about seeing, and I definitely look forward to seeing that. Let's see. Only 2 seasons of Black Sails are on Hulu. Okay, interesting. So I have Hulu, so I will give that a try. I want to start reading Lovecraft, but I don't want to start. Just go into your local bookstore, get an anthology series, and and then you'll just go from there. I'd recommend I'd recommend The Call of Cthulhu. It's a short one, and then The Dunwich Horror is really fucking insane. The Color from Outer Space is another super crazy one. If you want, some reference points to my video that I did on Yeti and the Black Stone, and also the comet that I think fell right now. Um, you know, the Color from Outer Space is about the stone comes, it falls, and then it poisons everything, and that's what I think happened to a shy, basically. I think that's the reason that a shy is poisoned and that nothing grows there and that the animals die when they get there. All these same things happen in The Color from Outer Space, which is a Lovecraft story, so you could definitely give that one a try. Rats in the Walls is another really freaking scary one that I like. It'll make your skin crawl. It's really, really crazy. Yeah, but Lovecraft has a lot of really weird stuff. And, if you've never read Lovecraft before, it might be a little bit difficult to get into. But yeah, start with the call. Yeah, I say start with the Call of Cthulhu. It'll draw you in. It's very interesting, kind of very small story, but it's a small story. This is what I like about Lovecraft. Now, the Call of Cthulhu is a very small story, but it hints at this grand, grand world. It hints at this just thing that's just way bigger than this character who you're seeing all this through. It's way bigger than he can even comprehend. And like by the end of it, he doesn't even want to comprehend it. He's just like, no, I don't even want to know anymore because it's just like so crazy and messed up. Okay. Do you think the Song of Ice and Fire book series and storylines will ever finish? If so, is George R. R. Martin writing himself into a bottomless pit? I think that I think that it'll finish. I'm optimistic. I think because, like I said, I think the Winds of Winter is almost done. I really do feel that he's almost done. Like at this point, this is the longest wait, but it's not much longer, really. It's not considering what's going into this book. It's not much longer if you really consider that. And like I said, I think that A Dream of Spring will also come out. Will take less time to write because it'll be a more. I think A Dream of Spring will be a more focused plot because I think that the Winds will tie up a lot of loose ends. I really do. I really do. That's my prediction. You can quote me on that. I just looked it up. George R. R. Martin is also going to be executive producer on the TV adaptation of the novel Who Fears Death by Nindi Orkoffer. I've never heard of that, but that is interesting. And see, that's where I start to worry a little bit. I don't want him to spread himself too thin. But he is a TV writer. I mean, he was doing this before he even wrote A Song of Ice and Fire, so maybe that's what he really enjoys doing more than writing. Not writing a book. I don't know, but we can hope for the Winds of Winter. And yeah, I agree, Drew Russell. I think the Winds of Winter will be longer than A Dance of Dragons. I definitely see that. I think it'll be there's so much hype. He's got to impress us, and that's what I think. That's another reason why I think it might be taking a little bit of time because he doesn't want to disappoint. He doesn't want to get those same comments like, "Oh, A Dance of Dragons, it was boring, and A Feast was boring." He really wants you to finish this book and just go, "Wow!" And I honestly feel that when you finish Winds, you'll go, "Wow!" Honestly, I said, "Wow" at the end of Dance and Feast. I was just like, "Holy shit!" My mind was blown both times. Like, come on, that Pate ending with Feast. I was just like, "Holy." I did not see that coming. I was like, fuck, what is going to happen next? I was on the tips of my toes when you saw Pate at the end of The Feast for Crows. I was just like, holy shit. And I was, so that to me, that was pretty amazing. And then Dance obviously ends with Jon Snow dead. And you're just like, holy shit, what's going on with him? Uh, Brendan Parker says, Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune are my faves. I really, really enjoy God Emperor of Doom. That is my all-time favorite, and that'll probably be my longest video in the series because there's so much to go into. The intricacies of the Golden Path, as far as Leto II is concerned, who is a worm god you don't know about Late to the Second, he is God Emperor of Dune. He joined with sand trout, and it made a living skin, and he slowly transformed into a worm over 1,000 years, giving up his humanity in order to guide the rest of humans on the golden path, the proper path. Which is Bran. Come on, he's gonna become a tree. It's got these three-eyed raven. He's literally giving up his humanity and becoming the Kwisatz Haderach, a freaking god, and that's it's the same. Like the similarities will blow your mind. Like when I really get into the nitty gritty of it, similarities between Bran as the Kwisatz Haderach and Paul, and also Leto and Dune are just breathtaking. And I've already done videos on it. Like if you look at my video, it's called how powerful is Bran, or how strong is he really, or something. And it's on my channel. It was posted like a month or two ago, and it's something like how strong is he, how powerful is, something like that. And yeah, you just really get into that. So you can't spoil Dune. Dune is an experience. So like me even saying what I'm saying to you, it's not gonna spoil anything, because it's really about how you're getting from point A to point B. Like you open up Dune, the first book, and there's not even any mystery. It says you in the first sentence, literally, yeah, Paul is the Kwisatz Haderach. Because like there's no mystery. There's no mystery. You know that he's gonna go to this planet Dune, and that he's gonna become this god. Basically, it says that from the very beginning, because you get chapter headers from the Princess Irulan, who spent her entire life writing about Paul Atreides. If you ask me, Princess Irulan and Dune kind of got like the short end of the stick, but whatever. Whatever. I feel bad for Irulan, but how it goes. 5 pilots confirmed, or are they greenlighting? Well, we definitely got one that's definitely happening. That's the Bryan Cogman thing. And George R. R. Martin says that you can be pretty reasonable in expecting at least 3. You can be reasonable in expecting at least 3. And then 5 are probably going to happen. He said they might not happen now, but they'll happen later on, probably. So he's pushing for it. He wants it to happen at least. And if it keeps doing well, then they're probably going to happen. If these other 2 successor shows do well, which they probably will, they've built a franchise. Like George R. R. Martin is like, you got to realize what's happening. George R. R. Martin is basically television's George Lucas. Like he's built a giant franchise that's not gonna go away. That's what he's become at this point. He's got a huge franchise. He's the new Gene Roddenberry, basically. He's all the Star Trek shows. He's got all the Game of Thrones shows. It's the same thing. This has happened before, and it's sometimes it doesn't end well. And you've got Star Trek now. Star Trek has been on since how long? Since the '60s. So how long do you think that Game of Thrones is gonna go? And it's probably gonna keep going. They're not gonna end it. It's a franchise now. And then somewhere in the future, they'll probably make movies. It's not gonna end. There's so much to do, and as long as they keep making content that reaches people and people like, it's not gonna end. I don't think. They might take breaks like Star Trek did. Like Star Trek was off the air for like 12 years, and then it came back. It's coming back. In like 2 days. Star Trek Discovery. Like the freaking 7th or 8th Star Trek show, 7 or 8th. Star Trek show is coming back after like over a decade. After over a decade, it's coming back again, so it's not gonna go away. And look at Star Wars, like it ended a decade later, it's back. So it's gonna, that's what's going on. That's what they're doing. They're not gonna stop as long as it keeps making them money. They're not gonna stop. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Yes, Bryan Cogman is working with him. We talked about Bryan Cogman in the beginning. And like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the work that he's done on Game of Thrones in the past. I'm not. If I'm just I'm just gonna admit it. Like I looked at some of the stuff that he's got writer's credits on, and it's never the best stuff. Like he's never written anything that just wowed me. But George R. R. Martin is like George said, every step of the way. Every step of the way. And that more than anything gives me optimism. Because if it's every step of the way, then I know it's going to be good. Like I know if George R. R. Martin is working on it, he's going to write good television. George R. R. Martin does good television. He does. And he always has. Like that's just period. He always has. George R. R. Martin has not only shown his skill as a writer as far as novels go, he's long, even before Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin demonstrated his prowess as a television writer. He was on Twilight Zone. He did Beauty and the Beast, which was like critically acclaimed at the time. So he can write. So please check out some of those earlier Cogman episodes. We might be able to tell whether they're lame later, are because of his writing style or just the general trajectory. Well, I will give him that. I will go back and I'll look at some of those episodes and really see what I thought about them. Like around season 1, 2, and 3, and I'll see what I really thought about them. Let's see. Game of Thrones reboot. Let's see if we're gonna talk about a reboot of the Song of Ice and Fire story. What I would really like it if they went for I would really like it if they went for an animated thing. I feel like they could really do the story justice through an animated situation. And yeah, I think that'd be the way to go. If they were going to retell a Song of Ice and Fire and really do it true to the books, I think animation would be the best way to go because then the budget is better. And you can really control what you're seeing on screen. You can really control it and you don't have to worry about making things you don't have to worry about blending like CGI with people, and then things don't have to really look hyper realistic. It could be animated. It doesn't have to look hyper realistic, and that's the point. So it's like kind of less work. I'm not saying it has to be like crazy, Pixar, I always say Pixar level animation, but I feel like it should be, you know even like a really nice hand drawn. See, that's the idea that I was kind of thinking of, like a nice hand drawn animation. I don't I'm not like an anime art style. Like I'm no people might hate me for saying this, but I'm not the biggest fan of the anime art style. That's just not I've never been, and so I wouldn't love that. If you're watching right now and you've enjoyed the stream so far, feel free to leave a like, and also might as well mention my Patreon, exclusive content every month. So check that out. All tiers, doesn't matter. You could like totally donate $1, and then you get all the exclusive content that's not on this channel, and that's really good. It's really good. So yeah, that's. I think we've pretty much exhausted the topic. Like I said, I'd love ET. I'd love the Ironborn. I feel like Ares' reign would be interesting, and anything from the Age of Heroes. There's so many stories from the Age of Heroes. Um, Not quite a Samurai Jack style Monica. I haven't seen the new Samurai Jack. I've got to get to it, but not quite that style. I more like let's see, just the hand drawn animation. Something not like Justice League. I mean, you could do it in a way that it's still elegant but hand drawn. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender had really good animation, I think. But not necessarily looking like that, but and then Beowulf would be interesting, like the Beowulf style where it's like, but I think they did a lot of motion capture in Beowulf, so maybe not exactly that. But I think some really beautiful Castlevania. Thank you, Push a Spliff. Castlevania would be perfect. Like Castlevania on Netflix would be perfect. Yeah. See, that's the thing, Tien. I watched the Death Note movie, and it wasn't very good. But it did make me interested in the anime. So I actually have started watching the anime. I've seen the first few episodes of it, and I'm really liking it so far. So yeah, yes, yes, yes. Well, Lyanna Stark. When I say regular animation, I just mean like the more traditional, like American art style animation. Like not because I'm not a big fan of like I'm not a big fan of the exaggerated eyes in animation in anime. I'm not a big fan of like just the way the characters look necessarily. Yeah, like I'm not really super into that. But like Castlevania would be the better, I think. Yeah. You say I should do an entire live stream in my spooky voice. It's interesting. Everyone's been super into like the It videos recently. My Stephen King videos. I've gotten a ton of new subscribers that are really into them, and so that's great. Because I really, really do love that book, and the movie was good for what it was, but the book is just so much better, and I'm planning on doing more. Actually, someone said to me the other day that stop doing the It videos because it's giving me a nightmare. And I'm like, sorry, so many people keep asking for them, and they really enjoy them. So yeah, gotta keep doing the It thing as long as people keep enjoying them. There's probably a Game of Thrones themed Monopoly. I wouldn't doubt it. There are definitely Game of Thrones. I've seen Game of Thrones Risk in the bookstore. So there's like deck building games and stuff. So there's a lot of Game of Thrones stuff going on. Should A Song of Ice and Fire be a movie for the cinema or be like Lord of the Ring and be like Lord of the Rings so it could stick more to the source material? I think that if they did A Song of Ice and Fire, I think they should do a show. I think they should do an animated show and then you can just I really think that's how they should go. I really do. I would love, and then the thing is, I'm not sure how if it would conflict with HBO. So that's the thing. I'm wondering if George R. R. Martin could say, "I'm going to give the rights to A Song of Ice and Fire to someone else." But I don't know because I don't know how it works. I'm not entirely sure how it works legally. Like if they were adapting like strictly the book, would it still just be like, would it still like infringe on HBO? I'm not sure. Can you Ghost gave me a super chat and thank you so much for that super chat. They said, "Can you make a sci-fi fantasy book recommendation vid?" I can recommend some right now. Malazan Book of the Fallen. I think it's really interesting. Mist of Avalon. I've actually just started to get into is really really good. Like I'm really into that. But Malazan Book of the Fallen is more like a Song of Ice and Fire, as in that it's more of like kind of a crazy epic story, tons and tons of characters, but there's way, way more magic. Then you've got Kingkiller Chronicles, which a lot of people enjoy. It's more of focus on one singular character, and it's got its flaws, but it's a very charming series. I think a lot of people that read The Song of Ice and Fire like The Wheel of Time as well. The Wheel of Time is not as adult as A Song of Ice and Fire, and it's not as nuanced as A Song of Ice and Fire, but it is some good fantasy if you're into fantasy. So those are just a few recommendations. Those are just a few recommendations that I have as far as fantasy goes, and then of course read Dune. You gotta give Dune a try. Uh, Drew Russell, thank you for your super chat, and you didn't ask the question, but thank you so much for the super chat. It really helps out a lot. And Fernandez Tees gave me a super chat, and thank you so much for that. And you say, "Sorry, I'm in between paychecks, so I can't give much, but I just wanted to support you for being real." Well, thank you so much. And like I said, any little bit helps. It's always good because like the YouTube, the YouTube ad revenue thing just does not work. Like it's like sometimes I get ads on my videos, and then sometimes none of my videos have ads, and I'll spend hours making a video and just get nothing for it. And so, it's iffy, but I don't there's no point in complaining about it. YouTube obviously does not care. So, nothing you can do about it. Dunk and Egg would really lend itself to animated and anime since Dunk and Egg are in the typical spectrum of storylines for shonen animes. Well, I think the Dunk and Egg comics are really good. I have all of them that have been released in comic form, and they're really good. I really like reading them. So, and that's also a reason why I think George R. R. Martin is probably not too excited about doing Dunk and Egg. One, it's not finished, and he doesn't want to do that again, like start an unfinished series. And two, like the comics are also already really good. So yeah. But I do think it would be an interesting animated thing. Um, let's see. Let's see what else you guys are saying in the comments. Let's see. What's your favorite movie from 2017? Hmm. What have I seen? I have not seen Mother yet. I'm probably gonna go see that actually later on today. Actually, so I'm gonna go see Mother. What have I seen in 2017? I remember really liking Wonder Woman, but I don't know if it was like a fantastic film or anything. Um, it was okay. I don't think it is as good as everyone's saying it is, but it was okay. Audun, see, I'm kind of bummed out on movies now. I feel like nothing really amazing has been coming out recently, but yeah. Odin Alasker Opask. I'm so sorry about your name that I'm butchering your name. Opasl. Thank you so much for your super chat. Any chance of exploring Sothoros in one spinoff? I mean, anything is possible. There's like not a lot on Sothoros, so it would be interesting to see the way they could try to explore that a little bit more, and we could see what it actually looks like because there's not a lot of information on it at all. There's not at all. So yeah. The Greyjoys and Ironborn are much better in the books, and Euron is so damn creepy. Yes, I absolutely agree. Everyone knows that. I definitely agree with that. Like, the Greyjoys are pretty much terrible in the show, except for Theon. Someone's asking about the image on screen. No, these aren't official images. This is just something that I threw together. If you actually look at the sorceress or whatever on the right, that's actually a wax figure. And then the guy on the left is actually a cosplayer that I just found on Google. He's cosplaying as a wizard. And then the guy in the middle is just like a random like night stock photo. You can actually still see like the stock photo lines if you look closely, where it's like got watermarks and stuff. So yeah, that's not an official image. That is something that I just threw together. I just threw together. Just a random A Song of Ice and Fire question. What do you think happened at the destruction of Hardhome? Well, the line that I've always found very interesting is dead things in the water. And Melisandre sees white mist, and she sees the mist creep up on them, and after that, death. So it's pretty clear that the others attacked, and is probably in a similar fashion as it is in the show, because you do get the white mist in the show, and it's very similar. The white mist in the hills with the caves and stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be very similar. Um, yeah, and if we get a survivor to retell the tale, I think it's gonna be similar. And Hardhome is one of the better parts of the show, I think. Your voice sounds exactly like the one from the YouTuber SageMaster15. I'm not familiar with SageMaster15, but cool. He has an awesome voice, but not as cool as mine. Just kidding. Patchface is right. Yeah, I think Patchface is often right in the book. He definitely is. He said the shadows are coming to dance, and he was right. Shadows came to dance, and yeah. What do you think happened to Summerhall? I think it's pretty clear what happened to Summerhall. I think that someone that was a representative of the Shadow, maybe Quaithe, was fooling around with glass candles, and she was influencing the mind of Aegon V, and he became obsessed with hatching dragons. And I think it could have been something to do with the toying with. I think it could have been Quaithe and Bloodraven at the same time that were toying with his mind, because around the same time Bloodraven had gone missing beyond the wall. And I think the same thing happened with Daenerys. I think that Bloodraven and Quaithe were toying with Daenerys' mind at the same time before she hatched the dragons. So I think that it was more Bloodraven was doing something, and then Quaithe was doing something to his mind, and it made him kind of snap a little bit, and he became really obsessed. And then in the end, he thought he had figured out how to hatch the dragon eggs, and he took these dragon eggs to Summerhall, and he in the World of Ice and Fire talks about wildfire and the fire raging out of control. So it seems like what happened is he thought he could hatch dragons. It went horribly wrong, and it ended up killing most of his family. And that's what happened. And it's a tragic, and that's kind of what happened with Ares too. He went like his mind was being influenced by these outside forces. He grew more and more obsessed with fire and dragons, and in the end, he was going to burn down King's Landing because he thought that it would turn him into a dragon. And then you have Daenerys in A Game of Thrones, same exact thing. Gradually, more and more obsessed with her dragon eggs, and then in the end, she does something that's seemingly crazy by walking into a fire. But in this case, she survives because all the pieces were in place. Uh, like you had Miriam Azdur there to sing a song that protected her from the fire. You have the baby, which she sacrificed. She has the dragon egg. Which she just stated. She lived with these dragon eggs. She cuddled with them, and they slowly came to life as she laid with them and she cuddled with them. She could feel life inside them, and by the end, she could feel the dragon stir inside of the egg. So I think her being with them that time is kind of what led to that. So it was all the right things in all the right places, and she was able to do what Ares could not, and she was able to do what Aegon could not. And that's basically, and I think it was kind of that failing that led to the Summerhall tragedy. So that, I hope that answers your question. I really do. I tried. By the way, love how you pronounced my name. You were so off. Norwegian is not an easy language after what I've heard. Yeah, I'm very, very sorry. I'm not familiar with very Norwegian names. I really am not. King's Blood too, if you consider Cal King, absolutely, and that's another thing. King's Blood works. It works on some level, and we don't know how powerful it is and what are the limits of King Blood, but it obviously works on some level. I was very interested in the books until I heard you and Lucifer discuss the connections between various myths, comments, and the Targaryen history. Well, Lucifer's idea is that, comets cause the long night. That's not necessarily my own ideas. That's something that he has kind of figured out and, researched, and he's done. He makes a very convincing case, but I'm not so sure if that's what I believe happened during the long night. But you can go and check him out and, judge it for yourself. But, those are more his ideas than mine. And then I have more ideas about, I do have an idea of a comet falling to Earth, but my ideas definitely differ from his on some of the more finer details. So, yeah. Ideas of Ice and Fire from... Have you read from Dina Ardren? Have you read any Darren Shane? Darren Sean. I have not. Please feel free to recommend anything you want to me. Like, I totally look at you guys as recommendations. I totally do. And I totally have picked up books because you guys have asked me. Like King Killer Chronicles, that was totally one that people recommended to me here on this channel that I read and I enjoyed, and I actually ended up reviewing it on this channel. And just so you're warned, if you actually look at my King Killer Chronicle review on this channel, there are a few spoilers, but the spoilers are not... They're only to get you interested in the story. So if you don't care about some of the spoilers, I don't spoil any of the major. At least I don't think I spoil any of the major turning events in the book. At least I don't think. Quinn's voice is great. His readings from A Song of Ice and Fire are wonderful. Check them out if you haven't already. Well, thank you so much, Andrea Silk. Also, if you're into horror, feel free to check out the Stephen King narrations, which are really popular on my channel. Like the first one has like 400,000 views, and I've got like 200,000 views on another one, and then the one I put up like a week ago has over 120,000 views, and they're getting really good views, and I'm definitely really happy about that, obviously. So yeah, check those out. Let's see. Quinn, regarding the writer earlier, I'd give him benefit of the doubt, as we have no idea the kind of constraints the writers had for the show. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And we don't know. I feel like David and Dan came up with a lot of the bad ideas because, and Bryan Krogman, George R. Martin likes him. See, that's why I'm optimistic. George R. Martin picked him, and he said, this is the one that I'm going to work with most closely because he really knows the lore. And, if George R. Martin feels like he can do it and he's going to work with him, I feel like, we could, he might have an opportunity to shine in his own show, and he could actually make a show that's better than what D&D have made, that might even outshine Game of Thrones. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm not sure about the whole King's Blood thing. Who decides on a king? Who decides on the power of it? Does magic listen to the choice of men or the right of conquest? See, that's the thing. I think it kind of goes back to that conversation with Varys. Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall. And what do you see in Miriam Azdur's tent, in Drogo's tent? Shadows on the wall, shadows dancing. So I think that belief is extremely powerful, and I think it has something. I think it's more to do with that. I think it's that belief, and then beyond that, I think you should question the limits of it. But I think ultimately there's power in that belief, and I think that's what it is. I think, the King's Blood. If you get enough people to say this guy's king, there's power in that. You're giving him power. You are giving him power, and I think it works on like the magical side of things in a similar fashion. The Blackfire Rebellions would be a cool show, leading into Essos and the Golden Company. You're right. I would love to see some of that Targaryen Blackfire conflict. I feel like that'd be really interesting. And just as long as then, I'd love to see some dragons too. Yeah, we can see some dragons. I'm cool because I like the dragons. Dragons. That's one thing this show's done good since the very beginning. Those dragons look good, man. Like my little nerd heart quivers when I see those dragons. Belief as a power also refers back to last week's discussion of gods in the Song of Ice and Fire. It absolutely does. How the fuck can you go on and on for this long? Well, I can go on. I can go on. This the world is steep. This is a very deep world, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, and this is something that I've studied. I've done a lot of research on. I know it more than I think the average. Well, I obviously know it better than the average person, and I'm really versed in it, and I can talk about it like it's real, and it's entertaining for me, and I hope it's entertaining for the people that are watching. But I have been going for about an hour and 17 minutes, so we'll probably we'll go for a few more. We got a little bit of time left to keep going, on this live stream as long as you guys stay with me. Okay, man, it'll be awesome to see Bloodraven versus Bittersteel. Yes, very interesting. Young Bloodraven. That's something that I'm very curious about seeing, but I don't know. I'm not sure if we will. How would you feel if George had Thorn drinking wine out of John's skull in the first chapter back at the wall? Well, it would certainly be a shocker. It would blow my mind. It would blow a lot of people's minds. But I then you would wonder what was the point of all that foreshadowing with Varymir's six skins and all that. You'd wonder what's the point of all that foreshadowing beforehand, and with the eagle. You'd wonder what's the point of him establishing the second life with the wolf and all that. So I think that Jon Snow is definitely a side of the wolf, but and if it was, I guess my impression would be, well, I guess Jon Snow doesn't necessarily have to come back in his own body. That's an idea that I've had for a while. That even if his body is, because his body is kind of riddled with holes and stuff. Catelyn Stark gets her throat cut, and she can't talk, so she's affected by this. And Beric is blind in one eye, so he's got holes in his entire body. So maybe it would require Ghost for his body to be transferred into another, for his soul to be transferred into another body. I think that might be interesting. Okay. Will we see night flyers or wild cards? Um, which I think I know Sci-Fi is adapting something. Is it Night Flyers that Sci-Fi Channel is adapting? I'm not sure. As far as wild cards as a TV show, maybe. George R. R. Martin seems pretty ambitious as to what he's doing on TV. So I think we might. He's becoming the new Stephen King. I feel like George R. R. Martin is going to become the Stephen King of television. Like how Stephen King has all the movie adaptations and then some television adaptations. I think George R. R. Martin is going to end up with a lot of TV adaptations. And you've got to wonder, to what extent does HBO have the rights to Westeros? Because because does HBO really have the right to Dunk and Egg, or could George R. R. Martin sell that to someone else? Because it seems to me like George R. R. Martin sold them the rights to the series A Song of Ice and Fire, so that's what they have the rights to. Could he not sell Dunk and Egg to someone else, or write another story in Westeros and sell that to someone else? I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'm really not sure. So yeah, but I see him as a Stephen King. Stephen King of television. That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. Can you talk about the Circle from Westworld, and how it relates to other sci-fi and fantasy? Well, I haven't seen Westworld since last year, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on it. So I'd rather not talk about it right now and make myself look like an idiot, because I really don't remember it very well. But I did watch Westworld, and I remember watching it and being a little bit disappointed in some of the storylines, but overall okay with the general idea, and looking forward to seeing the next season. So we'll see. I think your channel and channels like yours inspire people to read, and that's a really good influence to have. Book theories are so much more interesting to discuss. Well, I'm so happy that I inspire people to read, because reading, a reader lives 1,000 lives. I know that's cliche, but it's really true. At any time that I'm just like, oh, I'm so sick of the real world, I pick up any book. I have hundreds of books in my house, so I just pick up any book and I just go into another world. I have tons that I haven't read, so anytime I'm just like, I need to start a new series, I can just pick them up. Malazan Book of the Fallen, I'm totally not finished with that book. It's just endless books in that series. So anytime I pick up another one of those books, I'm just like, I'm gonna give this another try. I have tons of Stephen King. I have all of Martin's books. I recently picked up. I recently just went ahead and found every short story in every like Thousand Worlds book that I could find recently. I had read The Dying of the Light a long time ago, but I picked up a lot more of them. Well, pretty much all of them I picked up as many as I could find. So I got a lot of those, and I have those sitting around. I have not read them all, but I picked up a lot of I picked up all of his published novels, the major ones, um, and a lot of these are not even they're not even kind of similar to us. I picked up all those, and then I got a bunch of his short stories and all that. So I have all that, ready to read. And tons and tons of books. So yeah, just read. You gotta read. It's fun. I love going to the bookstore and just finding new stuff. I love it. It's just so exciting to me. It's just like a portal into another world. Fantastic. Do you think they joined Dunk and Egg with the Blackfire Rebellion to make it one massive series? See, maybe it could be, but I don't think George R. R. Martin wants to do Dunk and Egg until he's actually finished writing it. That's what I think is going on with that, and I think he's gonna lead that in a very specific way. And we know how it ends for Dunk and Egg in the end. That summer hall. But yeah, I don't know if it's gonna continue necessarily all the way up there. Please read some Dunk and Egg to us. I love your voice. Well, maybe one day we will get into Dunk and Egg, because I know a lot of people that have even read A Song of Ice and Fire have not read Dunk and Egg, and Dunk and Egg is a much smaller story. It is, and yeah, Dunk and Egg is a much smaller story, and but it's still a very great story. It's really about the characters. It's really about the characters more than anything, and it's very entertaining to watch. So I'm gonna take a few more questions, and then we're gonna wrap this live stream up because we've gone on for about an hour and a half. So if you guys have any final questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in the comment section. And while everyone's still here, I'll say again, check out my Patreon. Exclusive content is already up. There is like an hour worth of exclusive content that's already up, and more is going to be posted in the coming days. Probably either tomorrow I'll have that I'll have some new content up, or Monday, and I'll have some things that you guys definitely haven't seen, and something that you may have already seen, which is the R plus L equals J being false video that I put up on my channel a long time ago. I remastered it, and that's going back up on my channel. And I'm not on my channel, but it's gonna be on Patreon, on the exclusive channel. And gonna do some more stuff that's going on Patreon. And then you've also got some stuff that's already on there, where I talk about Game of Thrones, and and I talk about Azor Ahai, and I talk about what really went wrong with Game of Thrones. And they're actually really well made videos. So it's not just me just sitting around. It's not just the audio. It's like they're actually really well made videos, I think, because I went back and watched them all. And you get a lot of really good insight from those videos. I think they're really well made. What's your opinion about the no magic theory? I disagree with it. I think there is definitely magic. Where is the sword Dawn? Who do you think will use it in the end of the series? I think that it's hinting at Jon Snow using Dawn, and Dawn being Lightbringer. I think that's might be where it's going. I am 23 years old. So thank you for asking. Okay, here I'm just gonna run this little test real quick since you asked. If you're watching now, in the comments, I'm actually 23 years old. How old did you think I was? If you had to guess my age before I said I was 23, how old would you have guessed I am? I just want to do an experiment, a little experiment real quick, and to engage the minds of people. I might have spoiled it by admitting my age before having you guess, but how old do I sound? Because I've heard various different things that I've heard people say that I don't necessarily sound my age. I've got a super chat from Marilyn Bentley. Thank you so much. She says, I'm a new patron because that Arya sucks. Because Arya sucks. Loved all your season 7 videos, though. I got a lot of crap for agreeing with you. Everyone, please sub and support on Patreon. What's your favorite fan theory in the books? Thanks for keeping it real. Thank you so much, Marilyn Bentley, for your super chat. But before I answer that, let me look at these comments. See, I've got some 20s, 18. See, everyone's saying 30. Everyone's saying they think I'm in 30s or mid 20s. Yeah, I'm on the smaller side of 20, the younger side of 20. Yeah, so it seems like I have. It seems like it's mid It's late 20s to 30s. Yeah. Mid 20s to 30s. Yeah. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But I'm actually 23. Okay. My favorite theory. Okay. Well, my favorite theory. Holy shit. I really like. Well, I guess it would probably be one of my theories. I really like the idea. My favorite theory that I've ever done would be the idea that the comet fell. The red comet fell to Earth, and that it's in Valyria, and that Euron sailed to Valyria, and that Euron actually has a piece of that comet in his glass eye, and that's what the blood eye is. It's a piece of the red comet. That is my favorite theory. Like I feel I was really proud of myself when I came up with that, and it's definitely my favorite one. But yeah. So thank you for asking that, cause yeah. So if you want to check that out, that video is called "They Who Move the Pieces," and you can definitely go into that and learn more about those ideas. So thank you guys so much for watching my stream. It's been an hour and a half, and it's been real, guys. It's been very real. I appreciate everyone, and thanks everyone for your super chats, and thanks for all your comments. Thanks again to my Patreon supporters, and for all those of you that like the sound of my voice, check out my Fiverr account because I do narrate stories. Like I get great reviews, so you can check out my reviews on Fiverr. I do narrate stories, so if you write short stories or you want me to narrate something for you, I do that on Fiverr. So check that out. And thanks everybody for listening to me. Go on. Oh, my voice just cracked. I don't know if you want me to narrate now. Now that my voice cracked, listen to me. I sound at 12. So thank you guys for watching and peace out. I will see you guys next Thursday.